All right, it's Leafs Talk, Game 40. We're almost halfway through the season. I'm kind of halfway because you're on with Bourne on Sunday against the Flyers. I'm with Bourne on Wednesday, though, so it is your have to because
Yes.
you're off the following game.
Yes.
Halfway mark for the professionals.
How exciting. How exciting. We finally made it to the halfway mark of a absolutely guaranteed first-round matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're not going up. You're not going down. You're just playing the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we better cook up some narratives here, pal, because there's going to be a lot of the same.
Well, there's a couple narratives tonight. One is that, like I told you, I learned that producer Luke has his phone on DND, which is a normal guy move. I was gonna tell you my only issue with DND is that it shows it in the text messages now. Like it's a really cocky move. Like, hey, this person has their phone on silent, so
I hate that. So
don't even
knows.
try. Like, don't even try. Just it's fine. Just leave it. And then Luke kind of big dogged me when I gave him a phone call to let him know that we might have tech issues tonight. It's no big deal, Luke. You know, you've been here for a week, but yeah, I know it really did. He came for me with his tone. We're at the midway mark. It felt like a preseason game the way it was. The Leafs are on the power play like the entire night. It was kind of a weird game where it didn't feel like a ton of energy. Leafs own the Red Wings. I think that's their 9th straight game they've beat them.
Yeah, they beat them all the time.
Guaranteed win night. Red Wings can't get a W against the Leafs.
So I actually have a couple thoughts on the Red Wings in general. First of all, they picked a really weird year to be kind of like fake good. You know, like why did they sign all those guys? Didn't they know Bedard was in the draft? Like it was a really weird time.
Point.
Like they kind of got all horned up. Stevie Y, who seems to be a shrewd hockey man, makes some weird signings like Sherratt and Kopp and Perron.
And they still suck.
And they're still no good. They've had some injuries, sure, but so does everybody else. Like the Leafs had no decor for a month, so it's not like that's much of an excuse. And it's just they're this weird, mushy middle team where you want them. If you're a Red Wings fan, you're cheering for them to lose every night. Like they're not making the playoffs. Even if you do make the playoffs, you're not doing anything, and it's going to be a massive uphill climb. There's no chance they make it, so it's a really weird one.
That is weird, man. I hadn't even considered that because they were kind of the team that was looking to build off momentum, and Yzerman, you just trust so much that I didn't even really think about them because I've been focused on Philly with this whole Tortorella refuses to lose thing, and I'm like, if you're a Philly fan, you got a Nightmaresville where he's benching Hayes and he's doing his classic just annoy. Who thinks Torts? You know, you and I were joking about Matthews fake throwing the puck, and who thinks that's funny still?
Yeah.
Like, who is the person on the planet Earth remaining that still looks at John Tortorella when he says stuff like, I don't care about the All-Star game when one of his guys gets in and goes, oh, he's so cool. He doesn't care about anything. Like, he's just beyond
absolute worst.
John Tortorella, we were talking about people who give us the ick. John Tortorella, ick for me every time.
And the worst part is the second he gets fired for the Philadelphia Flyers, which will be in the next year, he's straight onto TV again, and he acts like such a towards TV immediately. So it's gonna be really, really great to have him in our lives for the rest of our hockey watching careers. Basically, he's gonna be around forever. So I'm really happy about that. But just to go back to the Red Wings, the other thing is, since they've come back to the Eastern Conference, what year was that? 2013, 2014 range. Yeah. The Leafs and the Red Wings have never been good at the same time, really. Like the Red Wings have kind of stunk their playoff streak ended. What did they make it? 26 straight years. Was that 2015, 2016, that range where they missed it for the first time? So they've kind of been going in opposite directions, and it's kind of sucks that there's no rivalry at all with them. Like the Leafs just beat them like a drum. It's a one-way rivalry. I don't really care about Red Wings games. And should be a team that is a super historic, relevant franchise that you should care about these games. Hey. And they're always such a bore. The Leafs just beat them seamlessly every time.
Buddy, you're bang on. And this is what's so frustrating about the playoff format, where Gary and the crew have decided that the only way to manufacture rivalries is to have the same teams play each other over and over again.
Yeah.
Except for that here's the problem. It's still a salary cap issue. The Red Wings should be a money team. Mm-hmm. The Habs should be a money team. The Leafs should be a money team. Even Ottawa, that's been dirtbag cheap or whatever, should be a team that has some runs where now they get some new ownership and some new blood in there and they're a Canadian market and someone tries to reinvigorate it. And instead, you end up with the team that is there year over year is Tampa, Florida, because it's salary cap. Exactly. And so they're all stoked on it. And Tampa, I guess I will say that out of all the expansion franchises, they're kind of the golden child where it's like they've won and they've actually built a fan base and whatever. But
I'm sure all those fans would still be there when they have their first 40-loss season. I'm sure they're all still there.
It's a regional sport, and there's only a handful of markets that matter. And having these caps, like where they prioritize, again, hopefully the San Jose Sharks are in the league and the Arizona Coyotes can be competitive and all this other stuff. Fine. I've never understood why fans are so obsessed about hockey growing into markets where we've like the NHL's been around, buddy. It's not, and it's not like if you're living in Arizona, you can't, if you really love hockey, people always have the argument of, well, then Austin Matthews wouldn't have existed. And I go, are we sure? How do we know that Austin Matthews wouldn't have just seen an LA Kings game? You know, like
how, there's other teams down there.
Do you like football, Sam?
I love football.
Yeah. Do we have an NFL team? It seems to me like a lot of people from Toronto watch the NFL, despite not having an NFL team here. Anyway, the prioritization of all these other markets seems to just always come at the cost of the big market teams, which is either no cups. And then it's so funny too, because they're talking at the board of governor meetings like, hey, you know how the salary cap will go up is if the Leafs make a cup run. So you go, it's great for the league if the Leafs are relevant and win, but you want them out of the playoffs every year in the first round because
they're playing the best team. They play the best team every year in the first round.
And then you have the Habs just like drowning in just squalor with the Red Wings. They can't figure it out. They can't get out of the basement because they need to hit on a lottery so they don't go and get Bedard one year. Anyway, basically this is a long-winded way of saying this league right now kind of stinks, and I really wish that they had to me, it's such a simple fix. Luxury tax the good teams just like they do in the NBA.
So easy. And you take that extra money and you put it to the bottom league. It's like, why is it so hard to figure out? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
I have no idea. Bettman is just one of those guys who
it's not his idea.
No, exactly. Someone else had it. Yeah. We got to get, you know what we got to do? Inception 2, Gary Bettman. Have him sleep in a dream. Leo goes in, makes Gary think that luxury tax was his idea.
I actually have a better idea.
What?
Make a luxury electronic board ad. And he'll be like, oh, that's like a pretty good idea.
The posters. They love it. The posters love it. Anyway, you're right. It sucks that this is a rivalry. I would say that Leafs Red Wings, to me, is the most beautiful sweater matchup in hockey.
Aesthetically pleasing through the roof. I'd kill for one time red on blue. I'd kill for them to do their red on blue matchup like they did at the Winter Classic that one time. I think they should do it every time, but just give it to me once in a while. It's both their jerseys are so nice, so it doesn't matter which one you wear. You're right. It's just an aesthetically pleasing, two very classic sports colors, red and blue. Like it's a perfect matchup. So get good, Red Wings. Be good one year.
It's like Leafs Red Wings and Habs Bruins. When I see those two teams play, there's just something clicks for me a little bit where I go, this is what I'm supposed to be watching on television tonight. This is supposed to be the thing. Anyways, the Red Wings stink. There's really nothing there. No. From the game itself, I think that there's 3 stories. Marner's 500th. We've really done Marner to death this year. There's been the power play, the switch over, and then there was Samsonov. Where do you want to start?
I think you'd probably start with Samsonov because it was a really important start for the Leafs and for every Leaf fan psyche, to be honest. I think we should start with Samsonov, right? Like he wasn't, I wouldn't say he was spectacular, but he was just gave you a solid shift. Looked like a good goalie in there, made that one really nice stop on Rasmussen where he turned around and he used his blocker and his pad, made a great save. I'd say that was his best save of the night by far. But like pucks hit him, they stuck to him, nothing squeaked through him. What he finished with 26 saves, 25 saves in that range. But he just looked like a solid NHL goaltender, like he looked at the start of the year. So for my psyche, for the Leafs psyche, for every Leaf fan psyche, I'm just really happy to see him have a good start.
Same. He looked big and he looked confident in the net. And I was actually thinking about them giving him this start tonight. It doesn't say too much to me because Sheldon Keefe has been a different coach, and there's always been this discussion of, should you start? Does the starting goalie get the second night of the back-to-back, or how does this operate, or whatever? But to me, this is actually a pretty decent indication now if you're looking at, because there's been enough nights now where you look at it and go, oh, are they giving Matt Murray the night off because of rest, or Are they giving Samsonov this start because they're trying to give him confidence or whatever? To me, the picture is clear now. This is just an open competition. This is not a Matt Murray's net anymore. These two guys are battling for the spot. And as much as Samsonov hasn't looked good, like his last 4 games, he was sporting an .850 save, right? He had let in some dreadful goals. Team is winning a lot of games with him in the net. They're 8-1-1 in his last 10. So the results have been there. To me right now, I think that they are probably going to stick with a formula much like this for the vast majority of the season. But if a guy like Samsonov can get hot or Murray can get hot, that's where I think you're actually going to start to see the split change a little. I think that this plan that we're seeing right now, the your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, is very much the way it's going to be as long as these guys continue to have kind of like mediocre play or one good night, one bad night.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's probably the right way. Like, I think there was a stretch there where you could have argued Matt Murray should have taken over when he was really hot, when kind of Samsonov was taking that swoon or whatever. But when I was following on Twitter this morning at Morning Skate, all the beat reporters were saying that Matt Murray was in the starters net at Morning Skate. And to me, I was shocked by that. If this is a true competition, which they, like you said, have given every indication that it's going to be, I was like, well, you have to give Samsonov tonight because Murray was dreadful. He's probably the number one reason they lost that game. I know they only scored 1 goal in that game, but the softies just broke their back. They actually had nothing left. So when I saw that, I was like, he's starting tonight, Murray? This seems like an obvious Samsonov one to me. And then Keefe, of course, confirmed it. And then they'll give Murray the Flyers tomorrow. It's just the right choice. I think if one guy has a really great start, maybe you can go 2 games in a row. But I think you're right. I think it's just going to be one off, and just see who gets hot here, and then make a determination towards the playoffs. Like, one thing that Kipper always talks about on our show is going into the playoffs, are you concerned about like who's the starting goalie? If you have one bad game, you go to the other guy. To me, it's like whoever wins the goddamn game. I don't really care at this point. Like, I'm not saying I need this guy to be the starter. I need this guy to be like, I was thinking like that with Murray earlier. Kind of like I was like, oh, they need this guy to establish himself as a starter. I'm at the point now when they were both bad. It's like, I don't give a crap who's in the net. I just need one of them to be decent. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that most people are there with you. What I would say is that I like the split for a couple reasons. One is that you keep both guys. I think it's a little bit more dangerous for Matt Murray. To me, the way he came in and the way that it's been discussed around him and my understanding of guys who know him, who have spoken to me about him, is that he's the type of guy who would definitely want to be more of the guy. Samsonov wants to be it too, but I think that him being in a split, like the situation it's in right now, where it gets to be a competitive, like your turn, my turn, that does suit Samsonov more from a personality standpoint. My worry was actually always that Murray, if he got so hot and Samsonov did become the backup purely out of poor play, that you would kind of lose him mentally and that he might check out on the season a little bit or get too down on himself, and then you wouldn't have him. This is kind of the situation of, if you have 2 starting goalies, do you have one, or if you have 2 goalies, do you have one? That is the concern, but I don't mind having these 2 guys stay competitive throughout the year. The other part I was going to say is that save that you saw Samsonov make in the second period, again on the Rasmussen one, the athletic save, that to me is still why there's a part of me that hopes he can kind of steal the job. I view Murray as the higher floor guy. I still view Samsonov in a weird way as the higher ceiling, just because of the athleticism he plays with at the position.
For sure. That's completely fair. I think what we've seen from Murray over his cold stretch here is the lack of athleticism in bad hands, right? Yep. And that's what we were all scared of when every goalie guy that we've had on our various shows since they signed these 2 guys or brought these 2 guys in has been Murray is not very athletic. He's slow and he's got bad hands. And that over his cold stretch here has been what you've seen. And with Samsonov, it was, he's athletic. When he's at his best, he's really flying around and making athletic saves. And that's what he looked like tonight. So I think that's fair in terms of, and it's also an age thing, man. Like, he's much younger, right? So I think that part of it, in terms of upside, there's still a lot more room for Samsonov to become something, I think, than what Murray is. Like, this is what Murray is. Maybe he's going to get hot for a stretch in the playoffs. Maybe he's going to get hot for a stretch in this year. But I think it's pretty clear as to what he is as a goalie now. Like, I don't think there's another step for him to take here. So
no,
I think I completely agree with you on the fact that Samsonov's upside is much higher than Murray's is.
What I would say though too is, I know we're doing like playoff projection stuff halfway through the season, but yeah, clearly you would rather have one of the guys emerge as a stud and have some hierarchy in the net, and that it's Matt Murray, whatever, the guy with pedigree who's won big games before, one playoff series, that he steps up, he's healthy, you enter into a playoff series, and Samsonov's a break glass in case of emergency guy. But I have a hard time seeing this season where it plays out in a way that one of those guys could have 2 bad games in a row in a playoff series or something, and the Leafs wouldn't just go to the other one for a different look. Yeah. Like, I just think that that's going to be on the table no matter what. So having them both be engaged is the worst thing.
Yeah, like, and you've seen that happen with really good starting goalies. Like, remember when the Blackhawks did it with, who was it, with Crawford, and they went to Scott Darling? Like, you've seen it with Grubauer when Holtby scuffled in the first couple of games. They went to Grubauer with the Caps. Like, you've seen that a lot of times. So you're right. It's a great point. Like, it's not like it's established starting goalies. This happens too, outside of Vasilevsky, who the Leafs have to beat, who's just a mutant and plays every minute of every game.
Have to find some guy. It's not like this season is a quest to find the guy who's going to be playing 7 games in the postseason. Like, they're probably going to be on the table that one of those guys, like, when we get there and do the over-unders, I would say if the Leafs play a 7-game series against Tampa, that, the over-under of 0.5 starts for whoever the backup is at the time, likely Samsonov, is definitely over one game. Like,
I'm taking over.
Yeah, that he gets a game in that series. Anyway, I liked the confidence that he played with, and we say this over and over and over again, but it's just the way I feel. Hey, Samsonov didn't let in a softie, and for a guy like that who's been fighting it a little bit between the ears, clearly, the way that he's been talking to the media, the way that he's been playing, I think that that's a huge performance where it's like, hey, the team clearly was better than the Red Wings. They beat them a lot. That's not a crazy tough opponent, but he made an impact on that game. He came up with timely saves. He was big in the net. He had one monster save. He had one where, like, he was in good position where he forced, I think it was Larkin, to kind of double clutch with almost an open net. He just stayed with the play. It was a little bit of an underrated moment. Like, he gets to feel involved in that one. So good for Samsonov.
And there was a one right to start the third period. I think it was right to start, where Rasmussen came down off the wing and fired that, like, little weird one right in on the hands. And he had the post sealed nice, where it's like a guy that's fighting it.
Big in the net.
That's one that, like, kind of trickles in, and it's like, oh, it's 3-2, it's 2-2 all of a sudden, and this game gets out of hand. And Simmer was like, that was a tricky one. That's a good save by Samsonov there. And I agree. Like, he made it look, you're right, big in the net. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, like, it's just a nice night for Samsonov.
Yep. Okay. So number 2, power play. Felt like the Leafs were on it all night long. They do get a power play goal. It does also coincide with Marner getting 500, his 500th point, and then the hilarious haha moment for Matthews, where he showed out all his jokester, his hilarious stylings, the comedy stylings of Pape. Yeah. So
yucks.
The story there, though, outside of 500, is the guy who gets the secondary assist, who snaps it to Matthews. Matthews misses the net, and it bounces off the boards, careens right onto Marner's stick, pops it in, goal. It's Morgan Riley, a guy who hadn't been playing on the power play. They've been going with the 5 forwards. I'm going to admit that I'm a little disappointed. I know that the power play wasn't scoring, and I know that they gave up that was a weird one. The goal that they end up giving up is just that's, I guess we could say, that's on Samsonov not hitting the stick off the ice, on the 2 defensemen for forgetting that the penalty was coming to the end, whatever. The team just had to lay an egg. But to me, and this is something I'm going to talk about with Bourne on Wednesday, and you guys might talk about it tomorrow about the power play. I'm sure you will. I'd like to see what he sees, because to me, the 5 forward thing, I just love having Tavares and Bunting in front of the net, and the guys on the flanks and at the top. It just feels less predictable to me and dangerous whenever the pucks go towards the net. And I know Riley makes the good play, makes a good pass. He's a good power play. He's a good power play defenseman. I want to say quarterback, but he's not really that anymore when he's coming off. So you can't really call him the quarterback when he comes off. I'm a little disappointed they didn't stick with it, but it's again, when you're prepping for the playoffs, it was kind of always hard for me to envision it being there. Either way, I would have liked to have seen the run go beyond today and not abandon it midway through the season against the Detroit Red Wings. If you're going to do it, just do it.
I think Simmer nailed it again on the broadcast, saying, I don't think this is as much about the five forwards as it is about trying to get Morgan Rielly going. And I think that's perfectly said. Like, I think everyone hears the noise about Rielly. You don't think, I mean, we watched, what is that, 24/7 or whatever the hell that was, wrote the Amazon series. I forget what it was called, but like, they're aware of the narratives. They, remember that like huge argument they had about Austin Matthews?
Of course.
They're aware of the narratives. They know what Morgan Rielly's going through right now. He is the number one whipping boy on this roster. Everyone talking about how he's not the guy. I think it's probably a factor of they need to get his confidence back. They need to get him going. They need to get some cookies for him. And he ended up getting an assist. He ended up getting his name on the score sheet. It's nice to see. He contributed to, was that the winning goal? Was that the second goal or the first goal? I think that was the first goal. That was the first goal. So it wasn't goal. No, that Tavares was the second goal on the breakaway off of Yarncrook pass. So that was a just nice to see it for Rielly. I thought he was better tonight. I think, it's easy to say he was better when they only score one goal and Samsonov makes a bunch of great saves. You know who was trying to box out that mutant Rasmussen in front of the net when he had that chance was Morgan Rielly. So like, if that goes in, we're all like, oh my God, he can't box him out. So it's amazing what a couple great saves will do for a defenseman's night. But I thought he was better tonight, a lot more decisive, taking the puck up the ice, getting it towards the net a little bit better. So hopefully he can kind of get it going in the right direction, because it hasn't been pretty since he came back.
I actually thought that right before the Tavares goal, he made a really nice play on an odd man rush.
Which is not his forte.
No, exactly. And no, he did look solid tonight. And if you're right, in the long run of this season, making sure Morgan Rielly is feeling confident and good about himself and involved in the team and not like the whipping boy is definitely more important than probably experimenting with the five forwards.
1,000%.
I want to hear Bourne kind of break it down, what he has seen through the tape over like this stretch that we've gotten, because to me, it's just the bunting Tavares in front of the net with those other three guys taking turns from the flanks and up top. It just feels terrifying. When I'm watching it, I think the Leafs are going to score every single time. And even tonight, where they didn't get it going early, that first power play they had, it was just, oh, well, that's scary for you. That's scary for you. That's scary for you. And what's that? Hellman is the name of the goalie for the
Hellberg.
That's it.
Sounds like a villain in an old superhero movie. Hellberg.
Yeah, he made a lot of really nice saves tonight. He was really quality. Marner gets the 500th, and the only thing I was thinking of is not just how great his season's been. It slowed down a little bit from where it was, but it's because he had an insane point streak and he was just carrying this team at times from an energy standpoint. He was clearly going to be their choice for the All-Star team. I think that Nylander and Matthews probably both end up getting selected. I don't know. Matthews deserves it and he deserves it, whatever.
Matthews deserves it?
Yeah, definitely. Being on the All-Star team. Yeah, dude, he has more even strength points last time I checked than Connor McDavid.
Wow. Yeah, Connor McPower.
He deserves it. I know, Connor McPower play. It's like, he's just inflated. I was trying to think about where I think Marner is already on the all-time Leafs greats list and whether he can be where he kind of should be from a points numerical standpoint without any playoff success. Like, it's so hard with the Leafs, right? Because if you're going to judge it by cups, it's all the original 6 franchise players, right? Like, okay, so George Armstrong is a better
Peter Kennedy.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to do this, but I would say like modern day players, post cap, it's pretty clear. Like, I guess Sandin extends into that, but there is just sort of a part of me that's going, this is the arguably second best Maple Leaf that we've seen, certainly since Sundin. But think if Marner was on those Sundin teams all those years, like he's going to finish with
been a decent winger for Mats.
Well, yeah, like I just think about how we revere Alex McGillney, who I still think is an underrated player, should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Extremely stupid that he isn't.
Insane.
The way that we revere Gary Roberts, and just, I know that these things usually come at the end of guys' careers where they get a little bit more love and respect. But yeah, Marner is just like far and away a better player than those guys were, right? Including McGillney, and McGillney was awesome, and McGillney was a revolutionary player. But yeah, 500 points to do it this quickly in a career is pretty nuts.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty easy to say that if Matthews and Marner stay with the Leafs their entire career. Marner will probably have the points record, and Austin will easily have the goals record. Like, I don't think that's a hot take by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, it's not even a hot take. It's actually, yeah, it's like, it's so obvious that it's not even that fun.
No, it's going to be like, I mean, the bigger question is if they're both with the Leafs their entire career, as opposed to them having the most points. So Marner, it's a complicated relationship, as we all know. There's been some things said by both sides over his career here, in terms of a lot of different things. Like, it's a complicated relationship, but on the ice during the regular season, there haven't been many guys that have been better in blue and white since I've been watching. So happy to see him get 500 points. And Matthews he's the second fastest because Matthews is the fastest. It's crazy. We're really spoiled right now. And you just hope that they can get past the first round, make a playoff run. If these guys get past the first, go to this conference finals, they're gods.
Yeah.
Forget a cup.
Once they
don't
do
even need a cup. It's like they go to the conference finals and have some big moments. These guys are beyond gods in the city. Like, it's crazy. So
that is the correct take. Is that as long as they don't just end up being historical chokers,
yes,
they'll be fine from a history standpoint. Let's wrap this up. But I do have one last thing, which is our boy Holmberg.
I got a couple more. Oh yeah. Okay, Holmberg.
Our boy Holmberg got a goal, but and it was nice. I texted this to you. To me, at one point this season, it was, hey, this is nice. He's getting regular season burn, but you can't have him on the playoff roster. Even if the Leafs add, I think he's getting bumped out to the wing and he's playing on the playoff roster essentially no matter what now. Do you agree?
Completely agree. His play has not dipped for one game. Like, he has been the same consistent defensive responsible, pretty good offensively with if he wasn't playing with two absolute butchers, he might have a few more points. Like, he really has been incredibly consistent since he came up. So this is what I was talking about this with on Friday, but one of AMAC's classic takes is like, the Leafs have always needed a guy to come out of the woodwork for their bottom six that's just going to be a contributor. And Holmberg is it. He's a 6th round pick from the Marlies that none of us had ever heard of. And I remember when we were like, they're starting Holmberg over Robertson. Like, what a slap in the face to Rob. It's like, no, Robertson, not that bad, actually. You got stud center who plays in all situations now, who's playing really great. It wasn't that bad a snub. So I'm thrilled for him. You know me, I started to push for Pontus, get him to the All-Star game. Hashtag push for Pontus if you want to get it on that. So love the guy.
I'm on that. Yeah, get him to the All-Star game. Let him get complete blue and white disease by his own height. Start to make it out of
offer sheets abound.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was gonna say that when that goal went in, I thought this is Kyprios's moment where he's just gonna do a tweet like, "I told you so." Like, hey, Tavares is playing harder because he's afraid of losing his spot. Yeah, of course. Nice night for Tavares too. That goal. Hey, say whatever you want about Tavares slowing down and the conversations that have happened about him lately. You want a guy in on the net to score in tight like that? Yeah, it's just there's very few guys.
Puck on his stick below the hashies, probably going to be in the net.
It's probably going in, and just the way he does it, calm finisher, lovely. Holmberg. I don't know what else there is to say. To me, I still think that the Leafs could add another centerman. I'm still in the mold of hoping that they end up somehow getting Taves. Like he would be on at the top of my wish list items of guys that are available that the Leafs could get in on. If that was the case, I think Kampf is your 4th line center, and then you're bumping other guys out to the wing. But yeah, I think Pontus could be there, and that does help you if you do decide that a guy like Engvall or Kerfoot goes the other way in salary. Is just he gives you the option of thinking about those things in an all-in season, right? So 100%. That's just really nice with him. The other thing I want to say is that on that 4th line, Dryden Hunt is just doing stuff every night. It's not, I don't want to blow this guy up too much. It's the reason why I left it for the end of the podcast, because I just I don't want to seem like that classic Toronto person that like freaks out for a guy that leaves a hit, but he does it, man. And even on that play where that 4th line scored, he's just active. He's active. He's doing a lot of the stuff that I actually thought Zach Aston Reese was sort of supposed to be doing, which is have that little extra fear of, hey, you got to keep your head up when he's out here because he'll run you, and then make just a simple read. And that's it. He has a simple game.
He never overdoes it.
That's it. It's a simple game. There's nothing to it. Has he been a little reckless at times, for sure. But do I think that that's actually a good thing to have in your fourth line guys who's bringing it? Like, yeah, I don't want him out there injuring people or hitting people from behind, but I want people to think he could, you know, and he's got a little bit of that. So I'm just enjoying the few minutes that he gets a night. And I just think like he has 1 or 2 shifts a night where I notice him. And that's nice because I'm noticing him in a positive way, never really in a negative way.
Agree wholeheartedly. I was joking that he was Zach Aston Reese's body double, but he is definitely better than Zach Aston Reese. Like, there's no question. Listen, I don't want to just pile on a guy. He makes the opposite read. Like, he's got pass when he should shoot and shoot when he should pass syndrome. Like, it's just, he doesn't make a read ever. He's got hands of granite. It's just, it's hard to watch. It really is. Like, that guy is not, you know who is not on the playoff roster? Him. Like, I can't. When's the last time he had a point?
I know, but I think that they just try, like, he's one of those guys where they don't feel like the puck's going in their net when he's on the ice, which is okay with your bottom 6 guys. Right. I think they trust him, man. I think he's there.
Last thing. The indigenous inspired tarps for warm up.
Gorgeous.
Oh my God. And I don't know.
Auctions happening for some indigenous causes. I can't remember the name. I should have written it down.
Unbelievable design, and the shoulder design. Like, it's just, it looks so good. But the thing that always like, everyone's like, you got to wear them in a game. It's like, can't you just enjoy them in the warm up? Like, they look beautiful. They're great warm ups. Like, do you have that take? Like, wear them in the game. It's always such a weird take when there's these gorgeous warm up jerseys all across the league, like the Pride Night ones and all these indigenous ones, like all these different ones are sick. And then everyone has to like devalue, like, be like, they have to wear them in a game. It's like, just enjoy them. It's such a weird take to me.
No, I don't ever think about that, to be honest. I'm very much on record. I actually really like the way the Leaf sweater looked on them this year, the third, whatever, the alternate, what are those called?
Retro. The reverse retro. That's maybe the nicest jerseys they've ever had. They're so beautiful.
But yeah, I'm a big believer in that when you're a classic franchise that isn't known, like I actually think the Oregon Ducks are a classic franchise, but they are known being the Nike headquarter town team that always switches up the uniforms. I prefer it when a classic team like the Leafs doesn't deviate very often.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So I don't mind that they do that for just the warm-ups and not the game. I also think it's great that all the proceeds for those like warm-ups went to those like indigenous causes. They were up on the Leafs website.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed a little light. Only 20% of the rest of the merch went to the other ones. I went, where's the rest of it going? And especially since they sold out immediately. And I thought
making enough cash, maybe like 100%.
I don't know. I don't want to be overly critical of what I don't know where the rest of the money's going, but I did see that the Mitchell and Ness stuff that was up on the website, because I actually went to go look. There was a T-shirt, but you know me, I refuse to buy Leaf stuff now. I haven't in a very long time. It's just it's my small silent protest for never winning and the prices and the amount of money they make and whatever.
You're a hero.
I went to go take a peek at one of those shirts tonight. I took a peek.
Gone immediately.
And it was almost $60 for a T-shirt. And I went, I wouldn't have bought that knowing the price.
Yeah.
I'm not like the Macklemore, $60 for a T-shirt. I was like, no way. But I certainly wasn't doing it for only 20% to go, because sometimes you kick that up a notch and go like, this is and then no. Either way, but sold out immediately. All of this stuff. I went, you guys couldn't have foreseen this happening. Make more.
Yeah, make more
stuff.
It's like Canada Soccer when they were like the hottest in the streets and you couldn't buy a jersey anywhere. It's like, hey, Nike, just make more of them. Like, you're probably
Canada Soccer.
Let's not talk about that.
I'm too triggered. Don't get me triggered to ruin the show. All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Anything else?
All good, brother. Good show.
All right. Thanks to Big Dog Luke. Big Dog and me again.
Alpha.
Mr. Cool Luke. Sorry for bothering
cool
you,
hand,
sir.
Luke.
Sorry for bothering you, Luke. Sorry, bro. It's Leafs Talk. Hey, again, it really helps us when you leave 5 stars on the podcast pages and when you leave a review. And we know there's a lot more people listen to this than there are reviews. Okay? So we would really appreciate it if you could just take the 2 seconds, go to Spotify, do that, share it on Twitter or Instagram, whatever you want to do. Or leave the little thumbs up on YouTube if that's where you're watching it. But yeah, take 2 seconds. Help the boys out, all right? Follow at JD Bunkis, at Sam McKee. See you Sunday night.